Oh, yeah, I should have known it from the very start. Hey, this girl will leave me with a broken heart. I listen, people, what I'm telling you. I keep away from a run around Sue, yeah. Oh, 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 oh. I keep away from a run around Sue. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. They've got their money's worth this week, haven't they?
Aren't they?
Hey, you pay for what you get. Literally. We're back for another hour, another week, Tuesday night. We've got plenty of rugby league to discuss, obviously. The grand final, the big grand final at the KCOM on Friday night between Wigan and Saints. You know, that same old boring grand final that we have nearly every year. So, yeah, rugby league, what's happened? Man of Steel, Paul McShane of Castleford has won it. The fourth Castleford player to win it in, I think it's 7 years. Or 8, 9, no, it's 9 years, 9 years. Fourth player to win it in 9 years. Anyway, all I know is that Daryl Clark, Rangi Chase, Luke Gale and Paul McShane have won the Man of Steel award in the last 10 or so years. That's all you need to know. So we'll discuss that and who should have, who could have, who would have got the Man of Steel but hasn't. And then, of course, there's a little bit of football to discuss as well. The Premier League's returned this weekend, plenty of big results. And, of course, we'll look ahead to the sporting action over the weekend. So, where do we start?
Good question. Let's discuss Man of Steel, because that happened last night, didn't it? So we can be up to date with the latest news.
Go on then, fire us off.
Well, it was a bit of a shock, I think. We discussed it last week, and you said Lachlan Coote. I went for Liam Farrell, and neither one of them got it. So what do we know?
Yeah.
I think I don't want to say no, he's a rubbish player, because he's quite clearly not, and he's a fantastic hooker, and he's been very good for Castleford for a number of years now, and he really has stepped up his game since he's been at Castleford over the last couple of years. But for me, I would have gone with, like I said last week, Liam Farrell, or even Bevan French, or even Lachlan Coote. I just think they've probably had better seasons than Paul McShane, considering where Castleford finished in the league, and I don't think Castleford really had that good a season, and I think Paul McShane has been better in previous seasons. Not saying that he's not a good player and not a worthy recipient, but I do think there were other players on that shortlist that probably have had a better season all round than Paul McShane.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think if he'd have won it in 2018, I'd have understood it a little bit more than what I have done this time around. The problem with the Man of Steel and this voting system that they have, and the way it all comes about, it's done on a points basis from the start of the season. So if you get you can get 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point. Now, the problem is when you're a Wigan and you win most weeks and you're on fire. You've got Bevan French, you've got Zach Hardacre, you've got Sam Powell, who's had a great year, Liam Farrell, Jackson Hastings, Tommy Lulawai. The list goes on. Those players are high performers week in, week out. Castleford, with all due respect to him, had a great season, but when they've played well, McShane's been the best player, so McShane stands out in that cast team as their best player, so he picks up more Man of Steel points than others. That's what I'm saying. So it gives McShane probably an unfair advantage on some of the Wigan players who, you know, Liam Farrell has performed 8, 9 out of 10 every week, but he's probably been denied some points at times because of how good some of his teammates have been, because it's been a choice of who. So that's where I think it's a bit. But there's no fair system. I think for me, they've got this Man of Steel sort of panel, and I think with Ellery Hanley who got the final vote. Well, for me, I'd get a panel of 6 to 10 or whatever, and do a vote with them. Let them pick who, and have it as a panel of ex-players, sort of picking it from there. Just picking, and I'd say, has he got his favourites? But this voting system, there's players in there that have missed out who've probably picked up 6 points all year, but have probably performed at an higher standard than some of those that were near the top. So I think let's just go back to a normal panel of 6, or however many you want on this panel, and let them put the vote forward and decide. For me, I do. I just...
What, at the end of the season rather than a week in, week out?
Yeah, I do. Because I think, with all due respect, Paul or a rugby league player for that, anybody, could perform, get man of the match for the first 6 weeks, get 3 points in each of those 6 games, and then not play for 8 weeks and yet still find himself top after that period. And whereas, like, for example, Liam Farrell plays solid 9 out of 10 every week, class, but he's probably only picked up 3 points in that period because your Bevan French has scored an hat-trick, your Zach Hardacre has scored an hat-trick and kicked 10 goals. That's my point on that.
I agree with you there. I think it would probably be more sensible reverting back. I mean, it's only been in the last couple of years where they brought in this point system, isn't it?
But look, well done, Paul McShane. I'm not taking anything away from Paul McShane.
Not.
He's a top quality hooker, and he's been the best out of the cast team this year. I just think personally, in my opinion, that there's been a couple of hookers in the competition better than Paul McShane in 2020, and Sam Powell's definitely one at Wigan who for me were unlucky to not get the hooking role in the dream team. Look. Well, we've got that to discuss as well, the dream team. So, yeah, well done, Paul McShane. It's phenomenal the way he's turned his career around. Well, I say turn it around. I think he's always been a handy and good player. He's obviously kicked on a couple of gears at Cass since joining 5 years ago. And one of his interviews saying that, I was leaving Wakefield and I could have quite easily gone part-time. Darryl and Cass took a punt on me and I've just got better year on year, and that's correct. So well done, Paul McShane. It shows that hard work is the key attribute, the number one attribute that you need to have to become successful. And credit where credit's due.
Strengthening his England chances as well. What do you think?
For me, no, definitely not at this minute because. Look, I'm not Josh Hodgson's biggest fan. I think that Josh Hodgson's... I'm not disputing his quality. I think he plays better for Canberra than he ever has done for England. I think he has too much involvement in England, and when at times I think it's a case of let your halfbacks take the lead. Josh tries doing that bit of that too much. But I think he's still ahead of McShane in the pecking order. I think Darryl Clark, just because he offers something different, is a different alternative to Josh Hodgson. I think he's in there ahead of McShane, and while James Roby's still playing, James Roby's probably still a cut above McShane at the minute, and especially in terms of international.
Well, it'll be interesting, won't it? Now, obviously, with a different head coach, obviously Sean Wayne taking the helm for the World Cup next year. Whether they'll be able to get some international games in between then. Probably unlikely with the whole situation we're going through at the minute, but you'd probably think that he would change the team around a little bit, tweak a few positions and a few players that he chooses from what Wayne Bennett went for.
Yeah, there's the players that are coached that'll probably get a little bit of priority in terms of, because he knows how they work and he knows their strengths and where they can, and he trusts them as well in that team. There's some. That's often the thing when you get an international coach who comes in and he's coached a chunk of those players before. He has that trust that some of them other players perhaps they've got the quality, but Sean maybe thinks, I don't know if I can trust him. I know that this guy here is going to make me 55 tackles without breaking a sweat. And doing that's where I think that
I think the issue
Sam Powell's coming to the reckoning for that.
I mean, I think the issue for me with Wayne Bennett was always that he didn't really watch much of the Super League. He was obviously an NRL coach in his first and foremost role, and then his stint as England head coach, he never really watched the Super League to see who was playing well week in, week out, and he just went off name basis.
And he went off who were playing down under, who could qualify as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and obviously we saw that when at the last Lions tour when he picked Blake Austin on the wing.
You know, there's that. You pick Blake Austin on wing. He's obviously known him from his NRL days, but rather than put an outside back in there who can play wing, you play somebody there that's never played wing in his life. I think that was the final nail in the coffin in terms of what is this bloke doing.
So I think with Sean Wayne coming in and he'll obviously have his ideas of who he wants to play in that hooking position, whether Paul McShane has, after winning Man of Steel, has kind of cemented a position there. We'll wait and see, but I think Sean Wayne's the right man for the England job, and whoever gets picked will have done so on merits. And Sean Wayne obviously watches a lot more Super League than Wayne Bennett does.
It just seems strange that, you know, Sean's been in that position now as head coach for a number of months, and you know, we're still ages away from seeing him pick his first England 17 and go to battle. You know, there's been there'll have been a lot of days where Sean Wayne's gone through this team in his head and this team in his head and phoned these players and then, you know, he's just not had any practical work to be doing with his COVID and
I know
things.
We were meant to have autumn internationals, weren't we? But obviously the virus happened, and that's not gonna come to fruition. But hopefully in the new year, maybe before the season starts or before the World Cup at least, we'll see some international action, because you wouldn't want to go into the World Cup just off the back of no playing time together, would you? From when was the last time England played together?
You wouldn't, but you know, I think if there's going to be no England playing time before the World Cup, there's going to be no Australian playing time. There's going to be no New Zealand playing time. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that'd be across the whole board rather than just England. So, you know, I think, look, he'll want to get some internationals in him, and he'll want to see some of the players that he's not had a chance to see. I'm thinking, you know, some of the younger members of the squad, your Tom Johnstons and etc., who will probably need some international exposure to go to that next level. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing England under Sean Wayne. But just going back to the original point, Paul McShane, has he broken it? For me, no. I still think that he's probably fourth, fifth choice hooker at the minute for England.
Yeah, and I mean it's a good choice to have all of those top quality players in that position. So I think whoever he chooses will bring a different dimension, and whoever he chooses is a good hooker. So fantastic. Obviously, one Man of Steel, and if you're saying that the Man of Steel is in fourth in the pecking order, then the other players above him must be great as well. So we've got a few comments on Facebook. Ben says Aidan Caesar should have won it. Yeah, Caesar again, fantastic season as well. He's only going to get better next year as well under Ian Watson. Obviously, that was announced officially on Thursday. And then we've had, so a couple of comments about the Man of Steel awards. Obviously, it wasn't just the Man of Steel that was announced. We've had the Dream Team announced as well, and Young Player of the Year, that went to Harry Newman of Leeds Rhinos. Obviously, he's been injured for a while, but still picked up that award. Ben has made the point, outstanding player, but are there any other young players who played all year who might have deserved it over him?
I think if we're going to pick a real quality young, it's very rare now, Ben, that you see 18, 19-year-olds playing week in, week out in Super League. It's just the way the game's gone. The category is you have to be 21 or under at the completion of the season. Now that limits who you can choose. You know, there's a lot of players in that category of 21 and over to between 21 and 23 that are genuine top quality players. But obviously they're ineligible to win the award. So I think that maybe you need to look at extending that to 23 and under for me, this Young Player of the Year award.
Yeah, I do.
Because I just don't think there's enough of them, Ben. I don't. And
23 is still a young age.
Yeah, it is. And is that, you know, is that saying something about the game and the lack of the It may well be, but that's for another day. But I think there isn't enough players that play in the game week in, week out, 21 and under. And to be honest, those three that were named.
Who have you got? Who was in the final three?
I
didn't even see
there was,
it.
There was Harry Smith and Jack Wellesby of Saints who have played,
Yeah.
and them two are probably the ones that have played most weeks, and have been in the running. But still, I don't think have had good enough years to warrant winning that award. So it's deservedly gone to Harry Newman for me, even though he missed a large chunk towards the back end with a serious injury. Obviously, we hope he recovers from that and gets back to where he left off. But yeah, for me, I think they need to increase it a couple of years and do it at 23 and under.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, there's not many players that come under that age group that are playing that many games for the clubs, especially for the first team. Obviously, Harry Newman being one of the exceptions, and I think deservedly winning it. He's been outstanding
I genuinely
since he came into the Leeds first team. However, I still think 22, 23 is still a young age for those players. So I think, yeah, there's if you increase the age category, obviously you've got more choice to pick from, and some top quality players that are kind of just making their way in the first team and playing those games, playing week in, week out, but still relatively young on the scale.
Look at James Bentley at Saints, who's played every week in the back row. He's probably scored about 10 tries, and he's been a real handful. And a lot of people saying, why ain't he been shortlisted? You know, he's been great, but he's 22-year-old, so he's too old. So you know, obviously there's a couple there, but yeah, I think the last deserved winner where you've looked at the winner and thought, yeah, he has had a real good season, is Tom Johnston, probably 4 years since when he won it at 20-year-old, and that's absolutely outstanding season. He won it. But the others, you seem to say, and I'm not taking anything away from these young lads, but they've probably only played 15 games a season at the maximum and won the award. So, yeah, Harry Newman, out of those three, I can't argue with that.
I agree. And obviously the Dream Team was announced on Sunday. Was it Sunday?
It was Sunday afternoon, yeah.
My days are getting mixed up again. So I'll just read through it now, and then we can give our opinions as to who we think could have been in, should have been in, and if we agree with who was actually named. So Bevan French got full back. Chris Ninu, one wing, Ash Hanley on the other wing. Toby King, centre. Conrad Hurrell in the centre as well. Two props in Alex Walmsley and Mike Cooper. The halfbacks as Aidan Caesar and Johnny Lomax. Paul McShane, obviously Man of Steel, and Hooker in the Dream Team. Second rowers, Liam Farrell and Kalepi Tanganoa of Wakefield. And then in the loose forward, Morgan Knowles was chosen. What do we think to that Dream Team?
Well, before I start doing the dissecting it and looking at who should have been in and that, I'm just going to say the loose forward role. I think Morgan Knowles gets in by default if he plays all games for St Helens, because there's no natural loose forwards in the game anymore. The only couple for me and Sean O'Loughlin, who's probably played 5 games all year,
last of the
and Joe Westerman at Wakefield. I don't think that there's any genuine sort of ball-playing loose forwards anymore. So, I don't know. Is it going to get to a stage where this Dream Team is going to be called free middles?
Yeah.
It seems like that. I read a piece online in some NRL team and listed on their website as, this is so cringy, listed on their website, their forwards, they were either edge forwards or middle forwards. They weren't called props, second rows, loose forwards. On their website, their Twitter profiles were, they had fullbacks, wingers, centres, halfbacks, hookers, and then they had middles, edges. I just thought that's the way the game's going now. It's just so cringy. It's too much. You know, it's coach terminology. I get that, but that needs to stay coaching terminology.
Yeah.
And for me, the Morgan Knowles is a great player. Has he been worthy of a Dream Team selection this year? Probably not. Just my opinion. So anyway, just going on to the Dream Team. Fullback, Bevan French, can't argue with that. Lachlan Coate, give him a run for his money, but you can't argue with whoever got chosen there. I think both have had a good season.
Absolutely, yeah. I think for me, Bevan French was probably just edged it with the way he's performed all year for Wigan, and obviously guiding Wigan to the league leaders shield. Lachlan Coote again, another fantastic season. But yeah, which either two of those would have been a fantastic choice, and obviously they've gone for Bevan French over Lachlan Coote.
Wingers, Chris Naninu and Ash Handley. I'd agree with Ash Handley. I think Chris Naninu's a good winger. My question is, if Chris Naninu don't kick goals, is he in that dream team? Probably not. I'd probably have gone with a Regan Grace in there.
I was going to say...
I think he's been good.
I would have... I just think he's still such a young player, isn't he, Regan Grace? Another one that's young, that could have been a young player of the year, but obviously too old on that age bracket. Ash Handley, obviously a great season with Leeds and one of the top try scorers in the Super League, and definitely deserves his wing spot in the dream team. However, I would have probably picked a Regan Grace over Chris Naninu. But that's not to say that Chris Naninu hasn't had a good season with Salford. I think he has. But like you said, obviously he's a goal kicker. Whether his performances throughout the year have warranted a Super League dream team split place, I'm not sure, but he's still a fantastic player, and hats off to him for getting in there.
Yeah, not for me. I think that you got Regan Grace, as you said. I think the Catalans boys are unlucky as well. I think Davis has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
His try scoring record speaks for himself. There's a big lump coming out of yardage and takes on pulling down. I think, if he were a bit more fashionable, if you get me, in terms of line breaking, I think he'd have been in with a shout. So, he's unlucky. Centres, who were in the centres? Hurrell and who's the other one?
I've just read it out. I've read it out and I've forgotten.
Toby King. I'll kick us off. Toby King, he's had a good year this year.
Yeah.
He's probably on my shortlist of one of 4 centres to have been in there. I think that Conrad Hurrell, I'm sorry, I can name 5 or 6 better centres in Super League 2020 than Conrad Hurrell. Just my personal opinion. I'm not saying he's not a bad player, but come on, if he's dream team standard, then what does that say about the rest of the centres in the competition?
Yeah, it was I think it's an easy choice, isn't it?
I just don't.
But I'm on the same page as you. I think there's been several others that have probably had better seasons than Conrad Hurrell. I think it was a strange choice. I think, he was in the dream team last year, wasn't he? And he did have a good season last year, but whether he's been as good this season, I'm not too sure.
No, not for me. Centres, I think Zach Hardacre has had a really good year for Wigan.
Exactly.
In the centre, I think Josh Griffin's been good for Hull. I'm trying to think off the top of my head other centres that have deserved a shot over Hurrell. God, it's hard when you think on spot like this. Can't think anyway. Anyway, let's move on to half backs.
Well, we've got Aidan Caesar and Johnny Lomax probably. Yeah, I couldn't disagree with those two, with that choice. I think both have been great all season. I think Aidan Caesar's, I've said it before, has brought a different dimension to Huddersfield. I think he's provided them with that halfback that they were probably missing in previous years, and I think he'll only get better next year. So, Aidan Caesar and obviously Johnny Lomax again. Another fantastic season for St Helens. He just keeps getting better and better.
The other centre I was trying to think about was Falau. I think he's been unbelievable for Catalans, especially post lockdown. Real good, real handful. Halfbacks. Caesar, he's done a good job. Who's it? Lomax. It's quite a surprising stat. He scored his first try of the season in the last game. Yes, he's been the top assist maker in the Super League. Is that just a sign that Johnny Lomax is maturing? I know it sounds weird saying he's maturing when he's scoring less tries, but is he maturing into a different sort of role with Saints? Is he becoming more of a general, a little lad who guides the team around the park and leaves his ball playing and all that sort of stuff to the other guys around him? Potentially, he might just be developing his game for for his older years, because he's not getting any younger, is he, Johnny Lomax?
No.
He seems to have been around forever. So yeah, he's had another good year, and of course sits top of the assist chart, so he probably gets in there, and obviously Saints have been pretty good this year. Front row, Cooper. I'm a big fan. Has he done it enough for 80 minutes? For throughout the course of the season? Probably not. But then again, who do you pick instead of him?
Yeah, that's it. I think Alex Walmsley, obviously, a shoe-in. Again, just phenomenal for Saints. But like you said, your second proper, who's been as good as Alex Walmsley throughout this season? You're struggling in that position, and I think I do like Mike Cooper, and I think he has had a decent season. So Push probably would agree with those two in those positions, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure about Cooper. Yeah, I'll give him benefit of doubt. He's done all right. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I think he's just steady, and I think he's probably been I mean, I know they've obviously finished third, Warrington.
You were in the top four.
So we say, obviously that's a good season by league standings, but I've not been. What's the word? I've not been excited to watch Warrington play week in, week out. I think they've been a bit boring at times, and I think Mike Cooper's probably one of the better players in that Warrington side this year.
Yeah, I'll give him that. Back rowers, Liam Farrell and Kalepi Tanganoa. I've had a long think about this, and other back rowers who have bigger impact. I won't disagree with them. I think they're good choices. You know, you got Liam Farrell in there, who's your hard worker, who gets through 80 minutes every week.
Like I said, he was my choice for Man of Steel. I think he's just been building year on year, and I think this has probably been one of his best years that he's had to date. He's just solid week in, week out, and you know that you'll get an 8, 9, 10 out of 10 performance from him every week.
And Kalepi Tanganoa, I think he deserves that. I think he's been Wakefield's best player by an absolute distance. He's played every game, and he's played every game again to a high standard, and he scored some tries. I think he's near the top for tackle bust, especially in the forwards. He's been a handful.
Yeah.
And the interesting decision there is they've picked him in the back row, and he's played less games in the back row. You know, he's played more games as a prop.
I think
than
he's
what
better,
he has in the back row.
He's a better player in the back row, and I think, me personally, I think it is a good decision. I think he's been, like you said, Wakefield's best player by a mile, but it might seem a bit of an odd decision considering Wakefield standing in the league position, and
it shouldn't do.
And they've been poor for the majority of the season.
The dream team's an individual accolade. I think for those players that have played well, and regardless of whether Wakefield have only won 6 games or however many it is they've only won this year, Kalepi Tanganoa has still been, for me, the second highest performing back rower in the competition. So fully deserves his inclusion there, and I think in agreement with a lot of opposition fans and a lot of everybody else who sort of said, you know what, I don't disagree with that. Credit where credit's due, and great news that he signed a new 4-year deal as well to stay until the end of 2024. Obviously chose Wakefield ahead of other clubs who have come in for him, both in Super League and overseas. So it's great news.
Yeah, I think it's good news for Wakefield and sort of their future and what they're looking to build on. I think a lot of other clubs will have been looking at his performances this year and thinking, was he off contract this year or next year?
He had another year.
And they're wanting to be swooping there, but credit to Wakefield for being able to keep him on. He must be happy there and ready to push on for the next couple of years or whenever he's signed on till.
2024, end of 2024. Loose forward. Who was loose forward? Morgan Knowles. Again, it's an hard sort of choice as loose forward. just because of the way the game's gone. You know, you see, yes, they name a loose forward, but I know a lot of your coaches name a team as the pack, 3 middles, 2 back rowers, and a hooker. That tends to be what they do. So yeah, you don't have. It's very rare you have somebody who plays loose forward for 20 odd games a year, week in, week out. Doesn't happen. There's a lot of swapping and interchanging in that role, so it's hard to give somebody that. But Morgan Knowles, a great player.
Yeah, I mean, again, playing for one of the best sides in the league this season and been consistent week in, week out. So yeah, I'm happy with that choice. So I think the majority of the dream team, there's a couple of positions where I would have probably swapped and changed a few names, but overall, pretty decent. A pretty decent dream team, and I think quite a wide variety of teams that have been chosen from.
Yeah, good to see. Are we going to break for a song? I think we're half hour in, and we have this first song. Yeah,
we've got a few comments on Facebook, so we'll go back to them after we've had a
Chelsea winning 1-0.
Thanks, Mally Stokes, for that one.
Oh, it's Champions League, isn't it, tonight? I didn't even realise.
Right, so you listen to On the Whistle with Connor and Zoe live on Smile Radio. Get your comments in on Smile Radio Yorkshire on Facebook. We're doing a Facebook Live. We're also on YouTube, and that's Smile Radio. You want to send us a message via our social media, and that's at Smile Radio 3 for Instagram and Twitter. Or you can drop me an email, richard@smileradio.co. So this is Dua Lipa, Levitate. Dua Lipa. She's from Belle Isle, near Leeds. Anyway, listen to the whistle. With
onto the whistle.
Whistle.
Get your teeth in.
Onto whistle. Live on Smile Radio. We're right back after this. Come on, he says. Come on. Bear with. You tell. At least you know we're live. Where are we? Here we go. Look.
Everybody looking for a dance floor to run on.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way I like. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
I'm one of the greatest, ain't no debating on it. I'm still levitated, I'm heavily medicated. Ironic, I gave him love and they end up hating on me. She told me she loved me and she been waiting. Been fighting hard for your love and I'm running thin on my patience. Needing someone to hug, even took it back to the basics. You see what you got me out here doing? Might have threw me off, but can't nobody stop the movement. Let's go. Left foot, right foot, levitating. Pop stars, Dua Lipa with the baby. I had to lace my shoes for all the blessings I was chasing. If I ever slip, I fall into a better situation. So catch up, go put some cheese on it, get out and get your bread up. They always leave when you fall, but you run together. Weight of the world on my shoulders, I kept my head up. Now baby, stand up, cause girl, you
want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. My love is like a rocket, watch it blast off. And I'm feeling so electric, down to awesome. And even if I wanted to, I can't stop. Yeah. My love is like a rocket, watch it blast off. And I'm feeling so electric, down to awesome. And even if I wanted to, I can't stop. Yeah. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for
College Grove Nursery in Wakefield has been providing the highest standard of childcare for over 22 years. Situated on Eastmore Road, we are close to the M1 and M62 motorway network and also convenient for Wakefield city centre, schools and major places of employment. For more details, check out our website at www.collegegrovenursery.co.uk or give us a call on 01924 200 120 to arrange a visit. College Grove, a special nursery which takes a hand, opens a mind and touches a heart.
We're back.
We are.
Good song.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa. So we've just had a few comments on Facebook. Mally Stokes, Chelsea winning 1-0 at half time in the Champions League. Ben has put Newman spent time at Fev Young Player of the Year. Fev seems to be a good place to go for experience and good production line. Hardick and Newman to name a few. Tangino, an interesting choice in the dream team. The only problem with Alex Walmsley is his discipline. I don't think he's...
The thing, he might give away a few penalties, but who doesn't? Who's squeaky clean?
Yeah.
Not many. Alex Walmsley's positives far outweigh the negatives, and he's just an absolute beast. And there's no other prop in the competition.
From Moore as well, Shrewsbury Moore.
You know, there's no other prop in the competition for me who touches him. So
There's only one more.
rightful
That's East Moor.
inclusion. And Alex Walmsley will be in the front row for England whenever their internationals are.
Yes, I agree. So obviously he'll be performing for St Helens against Wigan in the grand final on Friday.
Yeah.
So that's the next big game and the culmination of what's been a very interesting season so far. I said Carlans had beat Saints. You said Saints, and then you went for Hull over Wigan, and I said Wigan, so one apiece.
I did. I just before we preview the grand final, I'll just do a bit of a review on the other two games. I think I was talking about it's a game of chess and things, and you know I was proved wrong to some extent because I think that both teams, Hull in the first game went for the two early doors, as did Catalans the next day. Went for two. They set out their stall straight away that they were going to try and grind the opposition down. There were times I think that Hull FC in the first 15 minutes could have really thrown the kitchen sink at the opposition, and they didn't. They were a bit too conservative for me, and that kept Wigan in there. And when Wigan they played Wigan, didn't they? Hull played Wigan.
Yeah.
And then when Wigan got down there over the other end, they posted some points and ran away with it easy. So I just think that they got the tactics all wrong.
Well, they were still in it, weren't they? And then it was they were toing and throwing, and then obviously Josh Griffin got sin-binned,
do you know what? He changed the game. That was stupid.
That changed the game a little bit, didn't it? And Wigan went on to score a couple more tries just before half time, and that really killed off the game for Hull. And what a silly penalty to give away in a silly sin bin, which inevitably won the game really for Wigan, I think, at that point.
But for me, they just sort of first 5 minutes they gave too much respect for Wigan. Did Hull? They took the 2 points which went off, and I know people say you have to take 2 points at every given opportunity in knockout games. I would agree, but I think that you need to test your arm as well because you know Wigan had better individuals on that park, and without testing your arm and trying to do some things off the cuff, I don't think you're going to win on individual qualities. So for me, and I thought Catalans were the exact same. You know, that doesn't suit them. Playing that grinding sort of football, and they've got some big men and some good outside backs, and I just thought that again they set out the stool too early, and I know what you're going to say, that sin bin in the James Maloney early on.
their discipline let them down again
Well,
because they had two sin binnings
It's
in
the
that
same
game.
story with
Yeah.
with Catalans. The discipline is just horrendous, and Saints just ran riot in that second half.
Yeah, the two sin binnings killed them off, and it's so frustrating because Catalans are such a good team when they want to be, and they've got some outstanding individuals playing for them. And you like Sam Tompkins, Israel Folau, Tom Davies, who's had a great season, James Maloney, Josh Drinkwater. Those names, when you've got them on your team sheet, you're confident, and you should with those sort of players, you should be doing better than what you did against Saints on Friday. And I think again, it's just the discipline. They're just every game. That's what you seem to be talking about after a Catalans game, and it needs cleaning up for next season. Otherwise, they're just going to carry on like that, and they're going to find themselves in the same position.
Yeah, I'd agree. The discipline's just way off at the minute, and it has been for a number of years. And until they sort that out,
Who would you put the discipline down to?
Just silly individuals, just stupid, plain and simple individuals, because they've gone through 4 or 5 coaches in that period, and the coach hasn't changed. And Steve McNamara is not somebody you'd class as somebody to instruct his team to go out there and play dirty. You know, there's certain coaches that probably have those characteristics in them, but I don't think Steve McNamara falls under that category. And whenever he's been asked about it, he's slammed his team really for lack of discipline at times. And I just think that there's a lot of individuals in there, and you know, I think that they're the answer. Your big your Cassianos, your Battieris, your Mikel Simons, your those sort of players. They've always been known for being penalty machines and losing the head, and you know what, when you know there's that, the players on the opposition rile you even more because they know what you're going to get. And I just think it's down to individuals, mate, at Catalans.
That's it, and it's they had one of the best chances to reach the grand final for the first time, and at the end of the day, Saints were just too good. They scored some tries in quick succession and ran away with the game. And obviously, James Maloney getting sin-binned just before half time, I think it was. Silly penalty again, forearm to the face. And you can't argue with him being sin-binned after that. And then obviously they scored a few tries, and after that, Catalans just had no answer.
I agree, but the Saints were different
They were,
level,
yeah,
and
of
some of the
course,
tries
yeah.
they scored in the second half, they had the ball on the string and just playing for fun at the end, and it does set up a really good grand final this week. I'm a bit unsure. I
Well,
think
that's
it'll
it.
be a close game, but two teams that like to play rugby and they'll go hard, and of course as well, you can't take anything away from the Wigan Saints derby. Regardless whether it's a grand final or not, it's always a tasty encounter, and
Yeah.
it'll be no different Friday. We're in for a great game, I think.
Definitely, and it's your two best teams throughout the season who have gone toe to toe, and either one of them could have won that league leader shield at the end of the season. So I think it's only fitting that those two teams have made the grand final, and I just wish that fans could be there to watch it, because I think it's going to be an outstanding game. I think both teams have been great all season. You've got your Bevan French against Lachlan Coote, you've got your Zach Hardacre, you've got Jackson Hastings, and then you've got your likes of Johnny Lomax for St Helens and James Roby. It's just going to be an outstanding clash with some of the biggest names in Super League really on show on Friday.
So who's your money on? If
I
you
was
have
just
it?
going to say that. Who's your money? And I'm going to go for Wigan. I think they've just been plodding along nicely. And I think that their big players will have a big say. I fancy Wigan to beat Saints.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go St Helens. I just think they were more convincing on Friday against Catalans. Obviously, it's a different animal when you're playing against Wigan.
Have the peak too early.
But I just think...
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go for Saints. I think it can go either way, and it's going to
What
be
time's kick off?
it's going to be a very close game.
I'd imagine about 7:45ish.
But first time it's been played in Hull. It's not at Old Trafford, obviously, this year with all the COVID restrictions and what have you. So it's being played at the Cacom Stadium in Hull
Bonkers.
on
that
a
bit.
Friday evening, when it's usually played on a
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday in
It's gonna be
October, early
interesting.
October. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking. I am looking forward
Two
to it.
Lancashire teams.
I think
In Hull.
Who's you couldn't write it, could you?
yeah, it's like hosting a double header at Saints when Wakefield play Huddersfield and
Yeah.
Hull play Hull KR.
Yeah.
Mm.
I suppose
I
it's a bit
know.
different with it being a final, though,
Yeah,
isn't
'cause
it?
you have to plan in
you
advance,
You have to
and-
No,
plan
I
it.
know. I am being a little bit facetious there, but
But yeah, I just, like I said, it's a shame for those fans of Wigan and St Helens to miss out on what's going to be, I think, a great grand final.
And of course you've got.
Either team could win, which is the beauty of it. You don't like to go into a final and think like a Saints against Wakefield or whatever. Then it's going to be a great contest between two of the best teams in the league this year.
And of course, you've got Sean O'Loughlin for Wigan and James Graham for Saints, who are playing the last games
Yeah.
before retiring. Two colossal figures in rugby league, and don't get me wrong, look, the pair of them, James Graham especially, he'll be going at that hammer and tong. He will genuinely throw his weight around and still be a threat and
Should
still,
be a good
and
game
still
though,
look
shouldn't
to win the pack. And I just think with Graham and Walmsley, does that give Saints an advantage that Wigan don't have down the middle? Potentially, but then I look at some of Wigan's players and say that Wigan have got the edge over Saints. It's just that there's battles all over the park, and I think if you were to do head-to-heads all across from full-back to loose forward, they'd even themselves out in terms of, I think,
Here's a
come on then, we'll go. Are we going through them?
Well, I was going to suggest doing your combined 13. So your combined starting 13 of the two. So if you go from full back, who would you have? You'd have Lachlan Coote.
No, I wouldn't. I'd have Bevan French. I'll explain why.
I'd have
when
Bevan
we do
French.
the halves.
Yeah.
Look, I think Lachlan Coote suits Saints and their half backs in terms of Lomax and Farge are both sort of runners and both. I think that when you've got a Jackson Hastings in there who's more of a general, I think you've got Bevan French with his electrifying pace out the back. I think he suits that. So I'd have gone with Hastings as one of the half backs. That's my point. So I think French would suit Hastings and Lomax better than what maybe Lachlan Coote was. But a toss of a coin. So anyway, I've gone with French at full back. Have you?
Yes, I've agreed with you on
Wingers,
that one.
I'm going with both Wigan. Saints wingers. I'm going with Makinson and Grace. Centres, I'm going with probably both Wigans. I think I'm going to go with Hardacre and Gildart for the centres, as opposed to Nagama and Jack Wellesby.
You know, and you've got to go through all of the teams. I'm just thinking, who's playing for Saints, who's
Potentially,
playing for Wigan.
I'd potentially go in Nagama over Gildart, but I think
I would.
Gildart's a more all-round centre.
Yeah, I think I would choose Niguama, and I would have Hardacre. So that's only where we differ on that one.
Yeah, so we've
But-
gone
but
Wigan
both-
full-back,
Yeah,
Saints wingers,
yeah,
Wigan centres.
yeah.
Yeah?
I've picked a Saints centre.
Yeah, you have. Half-backs, I'm going to go Lomax and Hastings.
Yeah, I would agree with that one.
Yep.
I think, Lomax obviously one of the best halfbacks in the league, and Jackson Hastings as well. So I think I would probably go with those two.
Right, where are we at now?
You,
I'm just trying to work out who we've got and who there is. Front row, you've got to go with Alex Walmsley.
yeah, absolutely. But then you again like the dream team.
Yeah, Walmsley, one prop. Hooker, you've got to go with James Roby.
Yeah.
Although Sam Powell has been great.
Is he injured for the
it's
final?
I don't know. I'm not sure. The squads haven't been announced yet. And the other prop, I think even now, I'd still go with James Graham.
Mhm.
So Saints have got me front row.
Yeah.
Back row,
Yeah.
Liam Farrell's one back row spot.
Yeah. And then who takes your other one?
Now this is tough, very tough. You've got Zeb Tay, you've got James Bentley, you've got Peyru, you've got Willie Isa.
They're all extremely. Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one when you sort of put it on paper like that. I would.
I'm going to go Willie Isa. I think Willie Isa's quite a solid option in that back row for me. He gets that just over, I think, Peru and Taya are aging a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And I think Bentley's going to be a great back rower.
Yeah.
But at the minute, if I'm picking a team to toughen up, I've got Farrell one side and Isa the other.
Yeah,
For me.
when you look at it like that, my only other choice was probably either one of Taya or Peru, but anybody in that position, I think Liam Farrell, and then sort of any of Isa or Peru or Taya, but Isa probably just edges it.
And loose forward.
Morgan Knowles, like in the dream team, you'd probably say. I mean, Sean O'Loughlin yet, but he's hardly played all year, has he? And I know it's going to be his final game for Wigan. But I'd go for Morgan Knowles.
So I'm going to read my team out, the one that I've got. So I've got Bevan French at fullback.
I think we've pretty much agreed on most of them, apart from one of the centres.
Yeah, just bear with me a sec. I'm just writing it out. Isa, Farrell, and at loose forward, Knowles. So I've got French at fullback.
Yeah.
Makinson, Hardacre, Gildart, Grace, Hastings and Lomax, Walmsley, Roby, Graham, Isa, Farrell, and Knowles. So that
So it's
gives me
a real mix.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Wigan players, 7 Saints players in the 13. So like I say,
I've gone 5 and 8 then.
it's a real close one. Real close one.
And you look at some of those positions, and that's just our opinions on that. Whereas somebody else might choose a Saints player over a Wigan player. I think, and that's it. That's the beauty of this game, is you could have either any of the players in any of the positions, and you're still in for a cracking game. So we'll see what happens on Friday. But I'm gonna go for Saints to win it narrowly. I think it'll be quite high scoring. But I'm going to go for Saints to win 28-22.
I don't think it'll be that high scoring. I'm going to go Wigan to win 18-16.
Interesting.
Cherry and white. Da, 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 da.
With a new logo.
They're not
All
cherry
right,
and white
wait.
next year.
We are Wigan Warriors. We are mighty fine. We are Wigan Warriors. Best team in the land.
What are you singing?
The song that Wigan sing.
Oh.
Oh no, that's the team. The song, the song the team sing. It's We are Wigan, RLFC.
I think
the kings of rugby, and we're never gonna stop. We are
people have had
Wigan,
enough of your voice
RLFC,
tonight.
and we will follow you wherever you may be. There we go. The cherry and whites, and believe it or not, I don't know if he's watching. I know we tuned in the other week. Cameron Cave, one of my oldest mates. I remember when we were about, Cameron were younger, but I think I was 15, Cameron was 14. We went to Old Trafford. First sort of lads outing. Went to Old Trafford for grand final, and we both ordered Wigan Warriors tops to Wigan Warrington won in grand final, and Wigan won, and we were part of Wigan faithful, and we were singing the songs, and just reminded me of then. So there we go, trip down memory lane. Hope you all enjoyed that one.
Fantastic. Tell it again.
All right.
Ooh. Something that Lily would say, 13-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, good story. Say it again, Daddy.
She's got that from me, I think.
Yeah.
And we'll just finish. We've only got 5 minutes left, but just a quick note on Thursday's announcement that Ian Watson will be head coach of Huddersfield Giants. We've spoken about it previously, but it was officially announced on Thursday, and he was obviously on Sky doing an interview with Brian Carney about his new role.
It's a great appointment for Huddersfield Giants, but the key is these Huddersfield fans just be a little bit patient. You know, Ian Watson's coming in, and don't expect things to go at 100 mile an hour straight away. I think he'll want to bringing his own players, of course, the players that he's built at Salford over a lot of years, the players he trusts.
And he's taking some of his backroom staff
He is.
with him.
There's going to be a couple at Huddersfield that, you know, with all due respect to, probably want to move on because they probably just don't feature in his plans and they're not his sort of players. So I think there'll be, between now and the start of the season, a fair bit of wheeling and dealing at Huddersfield. Wheeling and dealing is not probably the right thing to say. There's probably going to be a lot of
Chopping and changing.
The recruitment side is going to be active. So it'll be interesting, but interesting time to be a Huddersfield fan, and they're definitely set for the future with him in charge, aren't they?
I think Huddersfield they've really struggled over the past couple of years. They've had various coaches that have come in, not really had the desired effect, and then obviously left again. They've had Rick Stone, they've had Simon Wolford more recently, who left at the start of the season. But now I think they've got a real coach for the future, I think, in Ian Watson. He's obviously shown what he's capable of at Salford, taking them from where they were to a grand final, to a Challenge Cup final, and that's where Huddersfield will want to be. They'll be wanting now to challenge. I mean, don't forget they won the League Leaders' Shield, but it was back in 2013 and they've not done anything since. So they'll be wanting to get back to those higher echelons and really competing at the top. And I think under Ian Watson, they've got a real chance to do that. I don't think it'll happen straight away next year. I think they, like you said, they need to give him a bit of time. Time to sort of get his squad, assemble his squad and what he wants and put his stamp on the squad and the way that the team plays. But yeah, definitely in the next couple of years, I think they'll be really fighting. And Huddersfield, it's no secret they've got more money than Salford, and he'll be able to sort of get those recruitment. And I think that's one of the things he said he was excited about, is being able to get those players and get the players that he wants to bring in. So yeah, I think exciting times for Huddersfield, and it's been a long time coming, I think. And we'll see what happens, but definitely probably the signing of the season already.
Absolutely.
Right, but before we go, I just want to do a quick plug for the Samantha Sykes virtual ball on Saturday night.
I was just gonna say that.
OMG, we
We're
are
in
so in
sync.
sync. So we've got all sorts going on. We have got a number of guests doing some live performances. We've got Martin Dean, who is doing a Neil Diamond
Oh,
tribute.
is that Neil? Yeah.
Not Neil. Yes, Martin is doing Neil Diamond.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes. And then we've got Brianna. She's all the way from New Jersey in the USA. She's going to be doing a couple of songs that she was a featured artist a couple of weeks ago on my show.
She's really good, yeah.
And
I enjoyed her.
We've got Tony as Robbie, number one's Robbie Williams impression.
Yeah.
And then we've
And
got
he's brilliant. We went to see him last year. He's really good.
we've got Miss Magic. She's going to be doing some magic. Who she's done all sorts with Penn and Teller and all sorts. We've got Bradley Johnson, who's a Emmerdale actor, and we've also got Bethany Hare, and she's sung at the Ball the last couple of years.
If you have been at the Ball for the past couple of years,
Yeah, and
you'll
if you've
know
been
that
watching
she's
Hollyoaks,
amazing.
she's on Hollyoaks too. So yeah, so don't forget, tune in on Saturday from 7 o'clock. It's for a fantastic
and I might
cause.
do a little bit of a performance as well.
That should be interesting. Shouldn't it?
Yeah, can't wait.
I'll do a rendition of Run Around Sue.
Yeah, I think you should. Right then, so don't forget, if you miss this show or any show, you can download the podcast from Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, all the major podcasting sites. And also, you can go to our demand page on www.smartradio.com/on-demand. Right, take care, guys. Over and out.
Brilliant.
See you next week.
Ta-da.
See you soon.